Hey guys, it's me again, Worksler Otis. Where we last left off, let's see, checking. Deku fought the Nomu, fought a couple of other evolved, killed them. Everyone in 1A knows who he is, and he just infected Momo with his strain of the virus, so, yeah. Deku has since fallen asleep. He's just like, giving him time to since something wasn't right, like I said, when he absorbed that Nomu, something wasn't right. So he just he's like, I'm gonna sleep that off. As he was sleeping, he saw flashbacks of the people's memory. It took his body he also had a massive headache. It took his body time to adjust and to separate which part from which body. So if I remember correctly, Nomus are like people spliced together. So it drawed fragmented memories and was trying to reconnect them in some form. Trying to reconnect them to be their original parts. But since I'm pretty sure it only has one person as the main body and then several other strains of people spliced together, it only has fragments. So as it's sifting through, he sees how each person was taken, or if their DNA was stolen in some case. But I'm pretty sure they're all dead, so. Deku reviews all of this in his sleep, sort of reliving and following these people's steps. Sees the life they led. Either they were delinquents, they got bullied, then their quirk came about and they became the bully, or they just had rough home lives. It all depends. Saws the path of all these people. Feels pity for them. But he says to himself, these people made their choices. They gotta live with them. As then Deku wakes up, he's like, Momo was trying to wake him up. She threw a few things at him. He's like, What? She's like, Deku? He's like, oh, Momo. You're awake. So, how much do you remember? She says, I remember everything? It's like, good. Would you mind explaining what happened? Where to start? Well, first off, you were taken hostage, stabbed, and I'm Wyvern, surprise, surprise. If you know who that is, hopefully Blackwatch isn't following you. She says that she doesn't know who he is. It's like, did you ever hear about that Vigilante over in New York, Wyvern? It's like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that was me, so. Any questions? She's like, yeah, what happened? He's like, I saved your life. And I'm gonna explain everything to you. As then he goes on to explain her situation as it is now. Takes some time to think of this. She says, so my physical abilities, well, I'm stronger, faster, and can heal. Like, yep, as he brings a knife and lightly cuts her on the hand. Her body then regenerates relatively quickly. He's like, you're not on the level of me by any means, but you are strong in a sense of heroes. Sorry. I'd say you're probably along the lines of probably Aizawa when it comes to not physical strength, but you're probably you could fight Aizawa, I'd say. Maybe. If you had to rely solely on your evolved abilities, that gives you a head above pretty much almost everyone. And to move along from this subject, yeah, they're going to be explaining this to Class 1A tomorrow, so yeah. Well, I think they're gonna have you stay overnight here to stay in this little hospital, and I'm allowed to go home. See you later. And school was canceled for the rest of the day. As Deku has taken his break, he goes back to his dad. He's like, "Hey, Dad. Hey, Deku. Want to tell me what happened at school today? We got attacked by villains. I was able to fend them off and keep everyone safe. Also, you know the girl Momo? Yeah, she's an evolved now." He's like, Deku's dad spits out whatever he was drinking. He's like, "What?" And he explains the situation. He's like, "Oh, well, I guess that makes sense. So, are you two, like, bonded in some way? Like, what is this gonna be, like a teacher-student relationship when it comes to the evolved side?" He's like, "Yeah, pretty much. She'll have to learn to control her new strength, because, trust me, there was a few times I didn't even use a lot of force when I, like, hugged Mom goodbye sometimes, because I feel like I would crush her back. Until I fully got a hang of it, I never really did anything. I even stopped playing the game for a while. Even my phone or exercising, I had to, like, hold back a lot. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll help Momo tomorrow with learning how to control her strength. I told her, like, not to grab everything with the usual, like how she usually would. I told her to take it very slow and grab it very, very gently. To a point it looks like she's not even using 1% of her strength or anything. Because I'm pretty sure she could break an alarm clock with barely any effort. Not even just an alarm clock, but she could probably bend a metal chair now with ease. I was able to beat down a brawler with just brute strength alone when I first got these abilities, I believe. Anyways, there's the 2 week, I believe it was either 1 or 2 weeks of them waiting for school to reopen. I think it was a week. So as they all return, everyone's like whispering as Deku arrives, or Deku's there. Aizawa walks in, and then says, "Everyone, you may have noticed what happened at the USJ. Please look to this," as there's a little screen, and it's unblurred images of Deku, as it shows him in his entirety. Deku here, or if some of you may know, hopefully you don't, as Wyvern, was a vigilante in New York and was infected with the Black-like virus. And where was I going again? Sorry for the interruption. As you may know, he's Wyvern. This is what he looks like, and he's an evolved. Several of them raise their hands. Well, several of them raise their hands and like, what's an evolved? Oh, he's... sorry. Aizawa essentially says, "Deku, I believe this is where you should take over." Deku stands up, walks over. "So, you guys got any so you got questions. First one is, what is an evolved? The strain, well, the virus known as Blacklight, or the Mercer virus, as some of you may know, was a strain that came out of nowhere that people thought was a quirk, or was some genetic malfunction with trying to recreate a disease, trying to make a new disease, or trying to find a vaccine for one. I'm not going to give you any more details than you know that may put your life at risk. Just for your own safety, do not dig any further than what I tell you here today. The Mercer virus either transforms you, mutates you, or evolves you." As he squeezes down, as you can see, as he brings out his claws, as you can see. The virus has its complications. For many, it turns you into normal infected. You get boils, your skin starts turning weird colors, and your skin, it's all disgusting and there's boils. Second thing is that it may mutate you into one of the few different strains. There's a hunter, which was in the earliest forms of the virus. Then there's a brawler, which is pretty much the hunter but with claws and more muscular. There's the Hydra, which is a creature that's from underground and has a tentacle. There's Juggernauts, which are brutes, like living tanks. Then there's the Goliath, who would be classified as something that could destroy an entire city block, several city blocks with ease. And then you got the third result. No, I guess dying is one of the results, but I'll put that in like one of the first categories. The third result is you either get evolved. And since your body bonds with the virus, making it a part of it, this is more successful with quirkless individuals, or if your quirk doesn't necessarily affect your body that much, like with, let's say, Tail Dude, back there. He's like, it's Ojiro. Yes, Ojiro. If I were to infect you with the virus, there is actually a higher chance of you being infected while being evolved with high success instead of Mina right there. She has a higher chance of just turning into infected. Kirishima, you are very much the same. You would most likely be turned infected. But the reason is because your body your quirks alter your body to more high degrees. For instance, your shark teeth, I'm pretty sure that's something to deal with your Quirkman and your hardened skin. Mina, you are pink with... Your eyes aren't even the same. You got pink hair, horns, and you also secrete literal acid, so... And for the final one of you, as an example, Aizawa here. I'd say he probably have a high... I can feel it that he has a high success rate. As another person asks, can you tell who can be infected more easily? He's like, yes, I can. It's sort of like a sense. The virus does want to spread in a case, but it gives me the full choice of choosing to do so. Like I did with Momo to save her life. Her chances of success were higher than most. Next question. What are all your abilities? He's like, well, I got this armored form. I got super strength, super healing. My healing is to a point that if I was pretty much, let's say, if I was blown apart into itty bitty pieces, I could reform and still be alive. Next question. I have these weapons, you could say. Mutations. I got these claws, this blade, this whip, these tendrils, and these hammer fists. Also, a pair of shields. Next question. How long have you been infected? A little over 2 years. In those 2 years, I was able to purge the other virus except for one other man, or so I thought. Next, I knew about Wyvern for a little bit, so how are you able to be here in UA? He's like, do I have permission to say that? He's like, sure. As Aizawa then discloses the information, Deku here was given express permission to join UA if he gave us information on certain organizations. And then Bakugo raises his hand up. As he breathes in and out. So, you're saying you had this for how long? 2 years. When I went to go to New York, it's a little while after that I got infected. My father had a encounter with Alex Mercer. Thankfully, he was able to escape though, but he eventually infected me. Then he's another question. Is it that how Inko? He's like, yes. Alex Mercer found her. Killed her. Sent me a message. I became aware of his plans to infect the rest of New York City. Thus, me and my partner, James Heller, you might have known of, I hope this doesn't break any contracts, right? He's like, should be fine, everyone knows about him. James Heller was the only other that I worked with to achieve this goal. Mercer attempted to kill me on multiple occasions, but failed every time. On a final battle on top of a rooftop, me and Heller were able to put Mercer down for good. Alright, next. Any other questions? As they look around the room, Minetta's like, do you have what are all your, like, don't you have any more abilities besides the ones you said? It's like, that ain't enough. It's like, well, it's not that. Well, to answer your question, yes, there are more abilities, but none of them that prove useful right now. It's like, can you give us some examples? Well, with my stronger strain of the virus, I can essentially take command over infected life forms, aside those of the evolved. But things like the Brawlers, Juggernauts, and Hydras I spoke to you about, I could take control of them. Sort of like a domination ability, you could say. The other thing is that I can fly, technically, or glide, and I can also track somebody across hundreds of miles. It's like, that ain't just nothing. That's something. Is like, yes, well. Anyways, anything else? As they all look around the room. And Banco asks, is this why you didn't have to take the test earlier? That physical test? He's like, yes. Technically, I even did the entrance exam way before the actual entrance exam, even before the recommendations. As another one raised their hand, I'll say, and I'm sorry, but this will be a last question. Are you going to infect us? He's like, no. There's no point to it. I only did to save Momo's life. And most of you would not be able to survive the process. Very few of you have high chances. If that's all, let's continue with school. I was like, thank you, Deku. What we say here, what questions he has answered, will only stay here. But as for the general knowledge of Deku is being spread right now, as in they pull up another thing. We have the Vigilante Wyvern at UA, as the crowd goes, wow. There's a bunch of, like, clamoring for questions, as like, that's you, Deku. They're at this place. I'll say Deku, sorry, they have the thing at school, in a separate part, and he should be arriving shortly, as Deku flies out the window and just makes it all the way to the city, as Deku, in a span of 5 minutes, makes it there. He's very quick. As Deku lands, he's like, as he comes through the door, he's like, yo. As Deku is like, please take a seat, Mr. Midoriya. Like, thank you, Mr. Nezu. As he sits down on a little podium, I guess. It's like, I'll take the first question from that man right there. As then he goes to answer more and more questions, explaining how the deal worked, and that he is not able to disclose information about any highly classified information. As this has been made clear, they go crazy with questions. When did you get infected? Several months after I was put in the Black Launch. Protection, you could say. Alright, next question. Have you had any personal experience with Black Launch? Yes. Alright, and this will be the final question before I have to get back to school. Did you have any part in killing Alex Mercer? Yes, I did. I was the one there who finished him. As several people are whispering. And sorry sir, but last question. Is it possible for you to fight All Might now? He's like, I feel like I could fight All Might for a decent amount of time. And we'd probably, if we fought right now, we'd destroy several parts of the city. But, in truth, I think it could go either way. We are both skilled and are very strong. but All Might, from what I know, doesn't have any healing capabilities, so he is outmatched in many other areas. But in many other areas, I am outclassed extremely. For instance, his strength and speed, I couldn't compete with that even if I tried. Anything else? No? Then thank you for your time. Several of them, he's like, thank you all for listening. And I swear, I'm not trying to do anything. All you have a nice day. Deku then gets in his legs and then hops up and then flies all the way over there. As Nezu then starts answering questions. Deku and them go through school and then comes to another lunchtime. Deku's sitting down by himself, then Momo comes over. She's like, so when are we gonna train? He's like, yes, I forgot about that. To make it perfectly honest with you, it'd be very difficult for us to train. But it's not impossible. Me and you can help each other and work together. So, I'd say we stay here for overtime. I've asked teachers, it's already alright with them. As he then goes on to explain, you most likely won't get any weapons. I'll make that clear to you now. And your evolved powers won't increase at all. That's unless you do certain things, but I recommend you don't. They are quite horrible. Horrifying, not horrible. And it can be quite stressful on your head, on your mind. Trust me. Deku then goes on to explain the fundamentals and the aspects of being unevolved. You can also track people, and like I said yesterday, your healing is much better. As then a few others join them, Uraraka and Ida. Ida questions Deku. And then Uraraka questions Momo. Ida talks to Deku about his abilities and such. Deku giving more in-depth details on how he acquired them. And generally having a good time. Only a few others come over, like Kirishima and Mina actually approach him after hearing what he said. So both of them asking him what makes it say that, as he gives the explanation that it's like a sense thing. Like, when do you ever feel like you can just tell something about somebody, like someone's untrustworthy, or you don't have any faith in a person could complete this? They're like, once or twice. He's like, yes, it's like that. My virus senses what can be infected with success, you could say, and what cannot. My thing's more adaptable, you could say. I don't know if I could, but maybe I could adapt a strain for you two. Maybe. But I'm not confident in that. Nor do I want that. This virus is probably gonna die. That's unless others figure out how to make it. Hopefully they don't. That's gonna be a nightmare and a mess of cleaning up. As then they finish and go on with their lives. Eventually, the sports festival kicks up. They all are ready. And they skip to the part where Deku and them are all ready. Everyone's like, alright, time to go get changed. Deku's like, oh. As he just changes in front of everybody. Then he's like, Momo, do you remember how I taught you? She's like, yes. And they had a few times with that where Momo would actually went to her wardrobe and memorized some of the stuff and could change from memory. As Deku's like, remember. And she then does it, but instead of doing her sports uniform, she ends up transforming into a nice, beautiful dress. She's like, oh, wrong one. As then it changes again, doing the sports uniform. He's like, there you go, see? So everyone's like, that's actually very useful. He's like, yes. And it's pretty much linked to her skin, in a way. She can't really take it off, is what I'm saying. But it doesn't feel like human skin, it's just there. I believe so, at least. I'm not entirely sure. That being said, Deku and them are waiting, and Todoroki makes his declaration of war towards Deku. Bakugo having his same reaction, like, don't forget about me! I believe he calls him icy hot, or half and half, bastard and such. Deku's like, huh, Bakugo, you will never change. But, hey, you're still the Bakugo I know from when we were younger. You're a dick. Deku stands up. Come on, everybody, let's go see. As Deku is called up to the mic, Deku's like, alright, this will be interesting. As then he speaks, he's like, hello, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Some of you may know me as Deku or Wyvern. Deku or Wyvern. As you may know, I was a vigilante in New York for a little over a year and a half. Well, a little over a year. Some of you know some of my circumstances, some of you don't. But I wish this to be known. I do not wish to cause harm to anyone in this school or outside of it. I truly do wish to become a hero. And before any of you start spouting nonsense about me breaking the law, I never broke the law, and I only ever killed somebody in self-defense. And I hope you all can see that. And I thank you all for listening. Let's all do our best for this sports festival. As he starts clapping his hands, plus ultra, and gives a bow. Everyone starts clapping, like, yeah. Clap, clap, clap. Deku gets down the bottom of the thing, and then everyone's like, and first is the race. Deku's like, remember, Momo, speed. As Momo's like, yes, I remember. As she runs, Todoroki tries to do his thing. Momo does his thing. Deku armors up his boots and just starts smashing, like, runs on top of the thing. Just thunk, 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 thunk. As he rushes past Todoroki, he's blitzing Todoroki, pretty much racing Ida. And I'll say he goes at very similar speed, if not he's faster. As he's bolting past Ida with Momo right behind Ida. He's like, remember, Momo, keep breathing in and out, and watch your step. As Deku runs past those robots, and he's like, well, this is fun. Deku jumps across the gorge very quickly, and then makes his way across the whole field. Just jumps high in the air and glides all the way over. Momo trying to attempt the same thing, but she doesn't have that. She gets about halfway until she has to, like, redirect herself in the air and get her to go faster. Several of them are questioning, how does she do that? I thought her quirk was creation. Deku was actually encouraging Momo to let the world know who she is and what she is. Because if they find out from an outside source, then it's going to be a lot worse than just straight up telling people. That's what he thinks, at least, and probably his personal experience. So, as then it's the Cavalry battle, with Todoroki wanting Momo on his team still. Deku has a very similar team. Either people are too scared to team up with him, or he has the most amount of points. So, gets Araka, Suyu, and Mei, and all of them. They do very similar, as Deku swipes away the thing and takes the headbands. But he's much better at keeping it, as he uses his shield and such to keep him ahead of people, like using his shield and hits people away, or covers all of them with his shield. Deku's like, keep it together, people. As then he's like, are you all up? It's like, yes. Deku's like, fine. As he sprouts the wings from his back and flies up, just like, flap, flap, flap. As he's staying in midair, he's like, remember, Mei, if we ever need to, you need to boost us out of the air and keep us situated, alright? It's like, sorry I didn't use your jetpack, but still. She's like, oh, it's no problem. I still can show plenty of the other ones. And if we get past this, I'll still be able to show more of them off during the actual other parts of the festival. Deku's like, indeed you will. Anyways, as they win that easy peasy lemon squeezy, Deku and them all land. He's like, good. Well, let's see. Sorry, mouth's kind of dry. Sorry. Deku then decides that he's getting tired of all the, like, everyone's like cheering him on and cheering the sports festival on. Deku's like, that's good. As then he goes and takes a break. First one fighting him is Shinso, and Deku still runs into Todoroki. Well, I forget exactly when he runs into him. I think that's when he fights him. Never mind. Deku fights Shinso, as Shinso talks about how he's so lucky. Deku pretty much gets his finger and puts it on his lips like, shh. As he keeps on trying to speak, Deku just has the thing on his lips. He's like, quiet, quiet. As he actually does some sign language, seeing if this guy understands. He knows a lot of stuff. As it's just like, I know what your quirk is. My friend already told me. I'll make this simple for you. You know you can't win this battle. I know that for certain. Even if you took control of my mind, maybe you'd win. But I'll tell you this. My head's already thick. My skin's thick. My mind is like an entire iron fortress. You ain't getting past its defenses. But I will give you this. Your quirk is extremely useful. It's just a shame you had to fight me in the beginning. But here's the thing. As he walks up to him, stop relying on it. Work out, build muscle, train yourself in fighting styles and using weapons. Otherwise, your quirk is pretty useless. And why do you even want to become a hero, man? You could become a detective with that, or like an interrogator. Just like ask them a question. If they say something to you, you take control of their mind and get them to confess. Ain't it just like that? Anyways, good luck with your road to being a hero, as he pats him on the back. Now, walk out. I don't really want to hear you. As he's like, thanks. But, if you want, we could still fight a little bit. It's okay with me either way, but I won't use my weapons. As he brings up his fist, he's like, sure. Brings up his fist too, runs at Deku and throws a punch. He's like, you need to turn. As you're throwing a punch, turn. Use your hips as you turn and punch, like this. As he shows him a few punches and combinations. A guy when I was in New York, I learned how to box. And a few other fighting styles, thanks to the people in the head. So, see you later, Shinso. It's like, thanks. As he steps out of the ring, giving him a pat on the back. As several heroes like, he's really nice. And, did you hear correctly? That kid's quirk is pretty good. The whole taking control of people's minds, that's pretty useful, as several of them are whispering. Deku's like, good. As the rest of the things go very similar, except for Momo's. She doesn't struggle as much. Sorry. I believe she fights... I believe she fights the Dark Shadow? Sugiyomi? I forget his name. Dark Shadow guy. She fights him, but she actually does a lot better considering the fact that she isn't evolved. So she pretty much fights and punches Dark Shadow a few times, trying to stay ahead of him and dodge out of the way. Deku's like, come on, remember, don't overstep or use too much strength or you're gonna fling yourself or actually hurt him really badly. She's like, God, not Deku, but they're like, you sure she's gonna be able to do that much, man? It's like, trust me, I was able to do a lot more when I first got infected. Sure, I was already pretty muscular then, but still. And I think I was able to bend metal easily. Before then, it was difficult. So, I think I could probably break most, even those for like that are meant for people with super strength. I could break their dumbbell bars and such pretty easily. She may not be as built up, but she still has superhuman strength. So, she then kicks Dark Shadow out. Sorry. She will then come to fight, what's his name? I believe she comes to fight Bakugo and such, as Deku and them go down the list. Deku coming to fight Todoroki. And with whatever Endeavor says, he's like, Endeavor, shut up. You know who you remind me of right now? You remind me of Mercer. Shut up, please. And I killed Mercer. Stop trying to turn Todoroki into someone he isn't. As he walks away, he ain't some weapon to be used. It's been thrown away, you dick. As Endeavor's like, has that burning rage moment, he's like, ugh. Deku gives a bow to Todoroki, and he's like, come on, let's get this over with. As he then brings out the giant ice block, Deku's like, typical. Deku takes out one of his hammer fists and smashes it right into the thing, causing the ice to break. He's like, sending fractures of it flying all out. Some of them even hit the stands and such. Not hurting anyone, but it hits there. Deku's like, now that we got that underway, let's say this for sure, Todoroki. You're outmatched completely. There's no way you're gonna beat me in this sense. Understood? Now, either surrender, either give up, or I'm gonna fight you with only my fist. Nothing else. As Todoroki's just trying to freeze him again and again, Deku's like, you think it's gonna take that much to beat me down? I took down one of the only people in history that could have gone toe to toe with All Might. If I could kill him, I can sure as shit kill you too. But I can't do that. As then he grabs Todoroki by the neck as he gets close enough and lifts him up in the air. So, are we gonna finish this? As Todoroki then takes his arm, grabs Deku, and then as Deku's being frozen, Deku throws Todoroki. Then he jumps back, as his whole other side is frozen, sort of like how the Nomu's was, as then it shatters. Deku's like, oh shit. As people are freaking out, oh my god. Aizawa's was like, hold it, don't worry folks. Izuku Midoriya has a super regeneration, as he quickly fixes himself up, quicker than even how the Nomu did it. He's like, did you forget about that little fun fact, Todoroki? Todoroki just keeps on freezing. He's like, oh, you'll never get ahead of your father. You keep on acting this way. You're such a disappointment. Sorry. Thought with your half hot, half cold quirk, you could actually stand a chance if you played your cards right, but looks like you were just resisting half of your power. As he says your power and then throws Todoroki, causing Todoroki to save himself with an ice block. Then using his flame quirk and blasting it at Deku, burning him very severely. Deku's like, shit! Ugh! As he's puts himself out relatively quickly, and then as he stands there looking like a charged corpse, he's like, see? As then he focuses and regenerates very quickly. He's like, that's more like it, Todoroki. Now how about I pull out a few of my styles. As then he armors up. He's like, with this on, you ain't gonna hurt me at all. Or would you prefer me to use the shield? Todoroki's like, do whichever you wish. He's like, oh, sorry. He's like, alright. As he brings out the shield, I'll do both. Rushing forward and using it to smash through Todoroki's ice block, and to use it to shield himself from the flames. Todoroki is pouring everything he has, and eventually does a flash freeze, causing the giant explosion. Deku's like, that's what I'm talking about! As he had to use his entire strength to not be blown away from that miniature nuke. Deku still stands at the very edge of the thing, and his armor is actually cracked. That was a very big explosion. Deku's like, ugh, that hurts. Well, not hurt, but that kind of rocked my head a bit. If it wasn't me, you may have knocked my brain loose. Todoroki stands there huffing and puffing. He's like, you did good, Todoroki, as he approaches him, this giant armored figure. Now, stand down. And then he pushes Todoroki off the thing, Todoroki landing on his butt. But Todoroki goes to retaliate. Deku brings out his gauntlet blade, saying, stay down, you lose. Todoroki just accepting it and walking off. Deku, pounds his fist on his shield and lets out a victory cry. It's like, yeah! Momo versus Bakugo. Well, I'll get to that in the next episode. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. Hope y'all continue to enjoy this. And I hope y'all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.